which is Facebook for me. I spend quite a bit of time on Facebook. So I go live on Facebook very regularly. So feel free. All right. So I'm feeling good about this. I like how it's going. It's working. It's working. Great rising. Good morning. Good morning. Oh boy said he cracks me up with that. So great rising, kings, queens, gods, and goddesses. How y'all doing? Hey, Kurt. How you doing? So happy to have you in the house today. I appreciate you, brother, always being Johnny on the spot. I likes that. I likes that. I likes that. Um, I am live in a few places this morning. So if you would simply indulge your sister just for a moment, I am live right now on Periscope, which is also broadcasting out on Twitter. Hey, Dara, long time, beautiful. How are you? So happy to see you. I am live over here on my YouTube channel. I'm live over there. I am also live on, of course, here in Facebook. Hey, Tiffany, great rising, great rising. Thank you all for joining. I have some stuff that I want to talk about a little bit this morning. Things that I'm always, I'm always happy to, have a little conversation. I'm always happy for that. I always enjoy that. Y'all know how I like it. Y'all know how I like it. Is this one mine? Let's see. It's good to see you too, Idara. It's been way too long, love. It has been way too long. So, all right. I think I got this just how I need it to be. So let me tell y'all what setup I got going on today. I decided to try something new, try something different, get on out of that old comfort zone and do this new thing. Hey, Eudora. Hi, Carlita. How are you? Thank you all for joining. I appreciate y'all being here. So over on this screen over here, child, I can see my Periscope, which is actually right here in front of me, right? Right here, I got my Facebook broadcast, and I also have my YouTube camera right here, but I can see my broadcast over on YouTube. So if you go out to YouTube/Golden Hearts Holdings or YouTube/Miss Mary Norris, you can see me over on YouTube too. So yes, honey, yes, I have hit the big league. I am doing my little thing around here. Just for now. Don't you worry about it. I'm making it work. I'm making it work and I'm enjoying it. I want to speak this morning though about something that is very meaningful to me. Oh, Dr. Don, of course, stop it. Stop it. I didn't even see you. You know Facebook be pulling crap. Dr. Don Vonti, darling, how are you? You know, Facebook, they really trying to break us up, girl. They be trying to tell us all kinds of fuckery that's not really happening. To try and get us to, be mad with each other, but it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. That's just not how it goes down around here. So anyway, Dr. Don, great rising to you, goddess. I know you had a good evening. I thought about you this morning. I was like, yeah, I ain't gonna mess with her because I know she doing her thing. She chilling, she getting that rest in and getting that not rest, but when you're being rejuvenated. You were doing the thing, and I feel like I did something similar in a way. I feel like I did something similar in a way, and that's the reason why I believe that I have this message today, right? I feel like I got this message. And here is the message. This is how it came to me. I have heard other people ask this question, and Dr. Don and I have had this conversation. Oh my gosh, please cut it out. Dr. Don and I have had this conversation on several occasions. Oh my goodness. Like I said, we've had this conversation on several occasions. It's funny. People like to distract you. And that I'm glad this is so appropriate for the conversation that I want to have today. Hey, Craig. Hi, Zakia. Thank you so much for joining. This is so appropriate. What's happening right this second is so appropriate for what it is that I want to talk about today. Being distracted. That's kind of a tangential topic. But here it is. The conversation that we've had on many occasions is, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do in order to have the life that you want to have? What are you willing to do? I made myself some notes today because I want to make sure that I touch on all of the points that I want to make. And I know that this is a pop-up live. It's not scheduled. This is not one of my one of my shows or anything like that. This is just something that was on my heart. It's thoughts that I had as I was, getting myself ready for the day, as I was beginning to move into my routine. I just got to thinking about conversations that we had. And Donna and I had a conversation last night, actually, about a dream that I had had the night before. And she gave me some insight on it. And I got, as I was, thinking over, mulling over, meditating about what she and I discussed, I realized that there were some other things. So there were other parts of the dream that I didn't remember when I was speaking with her that I think fills in the canvas a little bit more. And I came to understand one thing very clearly. In order to go somewhere, you got to leave somewhere. And in order to get something that you've never had, you got to let go of what you already got. That it really is that simple. It really is that simple. And even though it's that simple, that's not very easy. Great rising, Alfonso. Good morning, husband. I love you very much. I'm very happy that you finally understood what I meant. Hi, Daryl. Thank you very much for joining. Hey, Bridget. Thank you very much for joining. I think I already said, hey, Craig. So, hey, Craig, just to make sure. But those things came through very clearly. So I wanted to just kind of remind myself, and I like to y'all are kind of like my diary. I come and I tell y'all my secrets. I tell y'all my innermost thoughts. I tell y'all what's going on. Y'all get to witness me continue to grow. And I want to get into this. The question that I ask, the question that I pose is, if you lose certain relationships in pursuit of your life goals, have you really lost? Have you really lost? That's a real question. And when I asked that question to myself this morning, the answer that I heard back is no. There is no such thing as loss in the universe. Another kind of layer that showed up in that conversation in my mind was, you've heard this question before, and your answer used to be a little bit differently. Your answer used to be a little bit different. And the way that I heard the question before was, what would you do to have what you say you want to have? I've heard other people answer that question, and I see the evidence in their lives, and the answer is anything. I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to do anything. And in my mind and in my heart, that's the same question, and it's the same answer. What are you willing to do? Who are you willing to be? What and who are you willing to release in order to have, be, and do who or what you want to have, be, and do? Those are real questions. And we don't often ask those questions to ourselves in that way. So for me, when the question is phrased, what are you willing to do to have what you, great rising, Dion, thank you very much for joining, love. When the question is raised and presented in the what are you willing to do format, the old program that ran in my mind used to say, well, you know what I won't do, I don't want to do that. I don't want to say anything because anything might show up. And I don't know if I can really live up to anything. I don't know if I can really live up to what some people, the sacrifices that some people have actually made in their lives, taking, separating from people who they love, letting go of certain habits that they've had like forever, not doing things or feeling like they can't do things that they had done that used to bring them great joy, that used to bring them great success, that used to do all these other things, all these other things that that used to serve them. But we get caught up. We're humans, we're creatures of habit. And we rely heavily on our brains in order to get us through, or so we think. We rely very heavily on our brains to get us through this thing that we call life. And we respond, we believe, with our brain to what makes sense to us, right? And what makes sense to us is based on this thing that we call an ego, right? And I wrote, like I said, I wrote some notes because I want to make sure that I touch all my topics. Hold on one moment. I got a message that I just saw something come in that okay. All right, Dr. Don, I can take care of that when I'm done with my live. So what happened? I don't understand but anyway, I'll get back to that. I'll come back to that. We have this thing called an ego that we believe is us. The ego is actually, though, it's what makes us believe we are who we are, right? It's what would cause you to look at me and say, okay, that is a Black woman. She's Black, she's a woman, she's an American, she is Christian or something like it. That she's a mother, she's a grandmother, she's a wife. That's your ego. All of that is concocted and brought together and pulled together by other people. These are things that you were told as you were growing up. These are things that you were taught as you were growing up. Had I been born in another country of the same parents, the exact same genetic pairing came together to create this physical being, my perspective and my perception of myself and of other people would be very different. It would be very different. And my ego would be a different construct. It would be something else entirely. So when I speak of this ego and how we're operating from a place of, who we think we are, what we believe we are, what we believe in general, when I'm speaking of that, I really am speaking of our ego. And the ego is such a strong, we believe so strongly in our own egos. We believe so strongly in who we think we are, that when somebody comes along and says, but why, or challenges that, no, I don't know why. It's common knowledge. Everybody knows that, look, I'm right here. It's popping up on my screen. Remember, I got a bunch of screens open, so stuff is popping up everywhere. So anyway, so it's less about the attention span than like stuff is like popping up everywhere. So anyway, hey Lynn, thank you very much for joining. Hi David, thank you very much for joining. So when we talk about this ego, this construct, that came from other people. Like I said, I could have the exact same genetic makeup. My parents met on a trip to India. Who knows? Meet, fall in love, decide to have a baby. The baby is me. They decide that India is way better to raise a baby than coming back to, the United States. So they stay there, they raise me. Everything about me is different. How I see myself, how I see the world, how I see you, all of that is different. And the reason that is different is because I'm going to be taught different things. I'm going to be taught from a different perspective. And it's like creating a shell. That's how I have come to understand and identify the ego. It's kind of like having a shell. And this shell can only allow you to see, as long as you stay within the shell, you only can see from certain vantage points and certain perspectives. That's the way that it operates. But again, that comes from other people, and it's important. Now, that's not to in any way villainize the ego or anything like that, because we decided as a race in the culture of human beings that what we wanted to do was live in these groups called societies. We decided we wanted to live in society. We decided that we wanted to organize in particular ways, and that each of us would be responsible for exactly, Lynn, that each of us would be responsible for certain things. We decided that together. We decided that collectively. We decided that before we even got into this world. Like, that was kind of a done deal for us before we even got here. So when we came into this system, the people who were here before us immediately began to teach us. The ego began being created from the moment we got into this world, from the time we took our first breath. So that's the ego. That's the who do you think you are part of this. And that's the thing that caused somebody like me, when the question was posed as, what are you willing to do in order to have what it is that, like, what are you willing to do in order to have what it is that you say you want? I could never bring myself to say anything. I would have to say the word anything. I couldn't do it. What is going on, Dr. Don? What are you talking about? What is happening right now? Hey Onyx, thank you for joining, love. So that's the reason why I couldn't bring myself to say that to myself. And I realized that it's not necessarily the words, it's the worldview. It's my worldview. It's the shift in the shell. It's the change in the ego that I made for myself that now allows me to be able to say or to hear the question in such a way that it's kind of like my mind created whatever, girl. It's kind of like my mind created a softer, gentler way for me to be able to respond to it. So again, you know, we're talking about two different things here: the mind and the brain, which I talked about a little while ago. We'll get back to, well, three things, because there's also the ego. So it's kind of like I had, hey Kalechi, thank you for joining. It's kind of like I had a almost I would call it an epiphany. It could be an epiphany, but the question, when the question was posed to me in the way that I presented it here, if you lose certain relationships in pursuit of your life goals, have you really lost? It makes it really easy to go, yeah, I'm willing to do anything. You don't lose. There is no losing in this universe. If you believe in loss, then you also have to believe in lack and poverty. And I no longer believe in lack and poverty. That part of the construct that is me no longer believes in lack and poverty. And that part of the construct that is me can now see abundance everywhere. I can recognize the plan. I can see it. Dr. Don says that's because you want something else more than what you say you want. More than you want what you say you want. Right. That has happened. That I feel like, so I talk about switches flipping, and I kind of feel like a switch flipped when, you know, the conversation we were having about that dream. I feel like a switch did flip when I was saying to myself, well, in relation to the dream, the first thing that the first realization that I came to in that instance is, anytime I feel afraid, it's a lie. If it doesn't make sense, it's true. And lies tend to be things that don't make sense. Fear is a thing that doesn't make sense when you are certain of your own well-being. When you get to the place where you know that you came into this world in your own well-being, with well-being built inside of you. If you and God are one, if God lives within you, how can you be anything other than well? How can you be anything other than whole? This is what I mean when I start talking about how this ego is a construct. You know, they're not, don't get me wrong, there is a difference between fear and danger. If you are, you know, if you are getting out of your car and a big dog is rushing at your car, you might actually be in danger of being bitten by a dog. But that's something different. You don't have to be afraid in order to be in danger. You feel me? If you, hell, watch the news. Sinkholes are opening up around the world. People's houses and cars are being swallowed up in an instant. That is actual real danger to your physical being. So I'm not saying that there is no such thing as danger, but girl, I'm working on it. All right, boo, thank you. I'm not saying there's no such thing as being in danger. I'm just saying that fear is the thing that's not real. Danger is real. Fear is not. And I'm gonna tell you something else that I heard. I heard Dr. Joe Dispenza, and this was really something. I have to do a little more research, but I trust his research. I know that he's researching. And one of the things that Dr. Joe said that I was not aware of is that the amygdala, the fear center in your brain, that small gland in your brain that produces feelings that we associate with being afraid, the rapid heartbeat, the increased respiration, the perspiration, you know, the increased adrenaline, all of those things. He said that is actually triggered by the heart, not the brain. So it's not really your brain that's saying, oh, we're in danger. There's something happens in your heart. That is the reason why humans can create fear out of nothing. Humans can activate the amygdala or the fear center or the stress centers, which releases stress hormones that we need for certain survival. For instance, if there is a dog about to come, you know, charging at you as you're trying to get out of your car, you need those stress centers, you need those stress hormones in order to, you know, for the body to react properly. But he said that it's the heart that triggers that activates that. the fear center, not the brain. So as I'm continuing to study with as I'm continuing to study this heart brain connection, how we actually operate, what we really are, as I'm continuing to study this, as I'm continuing to expand my understanding of what and who I am, as I'm continuing to go on this journey, I'm learning more and more about how these bodies work. Give you an example. Give you a funny example. Do you remember the movie Shrek? I know there are 3 of them, but I think this happened in the second one. In the second movie, if I'm remembering correctly, Shrek discovered that he was not the only ogre, as he had thought for his whole life. He thought he was the only ogre. He goes off, him and Donkey go off on some adventure. Somehow they end up in this knoll where there's just a whole community of ogres. And these ogres, there's so many of them, that it's like a whole society. They all live together, and they begin to teach him how to use his body. They began to see, he was surprised when he learned that, like, those horns, that they actually make a sound, like you can use them to actually make a sound. And that's the way that one of the ways that the ogres communicated with each other, they would use their horns to make these sounds. I feel like I'm learning what else this body that I have can do by understanding what I am, who I am, where I am. And I'm kind of using I with parenthetically, because in the Buddhist belief, there is no I. It's all about us. We're a collective. We're all one. So there is no individual I. So anyway, I ain't trying to bust nobody's heads open, least of all mine. So least of all mine. So when we talk about these different things, just keep in mind, like I said, we're talking about several different things today. So we started out talking a little bit about the brain, talk a little bit about the ego. Now I'm introducing the heart and mind, so when something happens in your heart, when you feel something in your heart and your mind are connected, there is alignment. Believe it or not, whether you want to accept it or not, there is always alignment between your heart and your mind. You're aligned, right? And when you are aligned, you see the fruit of whatever that alignment is. It may feel a particular way. You feel conflict when you are when you believe you want something, or when you want something, but you don't believe you can have it. That's conflict. And when that happens, the alignment is in you not having the thing, because that's the thing you actually believe in your heart, is that you cannot have it. So if you believe that you cannot have a thing, then you cannot have a thing. The Bible teaches that if you believe a thing in your heart and say it with your mouth, then you shall surely have it. Well, the same has to be true, because what happens is it's not your mouth that creates it. It's your heart. It's your emotions. That's actually the center of creation. That's the place from which you create everything. Everything you see in your life, everything that you see around you, you create from your heart. Hey, Eddie, thank you for joining. Everything you see around you, you create it. So if you want, let's use money, for instance, because that's the thing most people identify with. That's the thing most people in this culture identify with. Let me say it that way, because there's some other cultures, if I start talking about money, their eyes will glaze over. They don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But if there are things that are more valuable and important to them, so they have no idea this money thing that I'm talking about. But here in this culture, the thing that I talk about more than anything else is money. So let's use that as an example, because that's part of my journey. Part of what I'm talking about today, part of what I'm teaching today, has to do specifically with my own journey. Like I said, I got this understanding, I got this breakthrough this morning, as I'm coming out of my meditation. We'll talk about that too, child. Don't worry about it. I got a lot. So a lot of people believe that they believe that they want money. But in my learning with Dr. Don and the trainings that I've been getting with Dr. Don through the Money Attraction course, as well as in 20 Months to a Millionaire, as well as just kind of being her friend and hanging out with her, one of the things that I have come to understand is that there are a lot of people who really don't want money. There are people who want what they believe money will buy for them, which could include things like not just stuff. Most people don't really want stuff per se. They want the feeling that they expect they will have once they have the stuff, when other people see that they've got it and the people see them in a particular way. They believe this phone is jumping. Good God. They believe that that in having the stuff, in having the money or whatever it is, they believe that that will get them the feeling that they're actually missing. They believe that will get them the feeling that they actually pine for, that they want, for the approval of a parent, the respect of a sibling, accolades and high praise in the community. All of these things are all based on each of us trying to meet our own emotional needs, each of us trying to have our own emotional needs met. So we use money as a problem and a solution. I don't have enough money, so that's why I don't have such and such and so and so. I got so much money that I can't even tell who down for me for real. Money as the problem and the solution. It's like there's no way. That's evidence in and of itself that is not the money that most people are after. I learned one of the first lessons that I learned when I started in the 20-month to a millionaire program with Dr. Don. One of the first things that I learned is something that I thought was true, but I found evidence of it once I started going through that program. And it is this: you don't have to buy everything that you want. You can people will literally give you valuable things, highly prized, valuable things with no expectation of anything in return. I found out, so the first way that it happened was she introduced me to a website called Freecycle. And when I tell you, every single time I went on Freecycle, I found several different things that were valuable to me, that seemed valuable to me, that were just on there for giveaway. Like, all you got to do is come pick it up. When I tell you, that thing blew my mind, learning that all I have to do, the effort that these people wanted, or the compensation, the consideration that these people wanted, was that you just come to this house or this location and pick up the thing. I have gotten things like, we got a washer and dryer, right? We got like new washer and dryer, right? We got golf clubs, the entire set with the bag and the cart to roll. The exercise machine, the Nordic track. I remember some wood blinds, the thick ones, the 2-inch wooden blinds. I mean, you name it, I was getting this stuff for free. Greetings, VHOP. I was getting this stuff for free. These were things that people had, and it wasn't no like junky things, it wasn't no messed up things. You know, things that people cared for. One time, Jason and I went and picked up an outdoor table, a picnic table. It was made of real redwood, and it was it had been outside, but the patio was covered, and they kept it with a tablecloth. They kept it covered. So when I tell you, this thing was like it had just come home from the store that they bought it from that day. They were moving to another city, and they just didn't have room for it. So I learned that I didn't necessarily need money to get the stuff that I thought I wanted. So that was one of my first like tangible, practical life lessons on my millionaire journey. That was one of the first things that I learned, that, you know, a lot of the things that you think you need, not only do you not need them, you don't even really want them. You want what you think you're going to have in terms of emotional equity and feelings once you got it, based on how other people saw you. So whenever you're looking for anything that is external, that's not really what you after. That's not the real emotional need. That's not the real thing that you're trying to get to. The real thing has to come from within. The real thing is the little boy or the little girl that lives inside of you, whose voice you don't even hear anymore. You're just familiar with the feeling. You get to the place where, I guess this is the time for the people to call me and tell me how I need a new auto warranty or whatever. That junk is crazy. And no matter how many times I block the numbers, there's always a new number. I don't know where the hell they get all these numbers from, but every day it's about 3-4 different people. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, I guess this is about the time. 3-4 different numbers that come up in my phone And, I answer, and there's an automated message. Hello, we've been trying to get in touch with you about your car's warranty. And I'm like, lady, no, you haven't. Stop that. Cut it out. It's really annoying. Really annoying. I will never press okay for more information on a call like that. Hey, Ebony, how are you? So if you're using that tactic, I don't even know what to tell you. I don't know. Maybe people do it, because I don't think that folks would spend money on technology if other people were not doing it. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. That junk is annoying. That's all I got to say about that. It is annoying. So anyway, where did I leave off? Oh, we was talking about emotions. So yeah, it's not the emotional need that you're trying to get met is likely not even what you think it is, because it usually has something to do with something or someone that is external to you, something or someone that is outside of you. The healing that has to happen has to be inward. It has to be, you got to go back real far, real deep. Like I said, to the place where you can't even hear the words anymore. You just feel the feeling. We had this conversation. I was speaking with my son actually about this particular conversation one time in the not too distant past. We had this conversation. And one of the things that I said to him, and he was not a fan of this conversation because he wasn't prepared. He didn't know that he was going to take the turn and feel the things that he felt. Hi, Angela. Thank you very much for joining. He didn't know he was going to feel the things that he felt. But one of the things that I said to him is that there's some issues in there that you got to go back and deal with. You got to go back. You got to go back to some things that may make you feel like, my mama really did some fucked up shit to me. And I'm like, as your mother, I'm telling you, that's okay. It's okay. I release you. I give you permission, if you won't give it to yourself, to go back, go deep, go in, and let yourself really understand from your perspective as a child, from your perspective as an adult, looking at the child within you, what was really happening, so that you can see that, a parent saying to a child, no, you can't have that, is not the end of the world. However, to a child who has so little life experience, they've not been out here in this world. They don't know what else is going on. All they know, their world right now is within the walls of your home, within the school that you send them to every day. It took them a while to get over the anxiety of you taking them someplace and dropping them off. They finally have gotten to understand, okay, she's going to come back. It's about, they can feel about the time that you should be showing up. They know when you're a little late. They know when you're a little early, and they like it, unless it's something else that normally goes on in their day that they would like to participate in. But they know. And, you get to a place, some people don't heal from that. A lot of people have abandonment issues related to things that happened to them when they did not even have the awareness that they were in a body. All they knew is that everything that they knew before they came into this world is different. Everything. So when you are, I believe that, I believe that when the Bible, when it says, before I placed you in the womb, I knew you, I believe that all of us were someplace before we were placed in the womb. And if we were someplace before we were placed in the womb, we had to have existed. That's what I believe consciousness is. Consciousness is the thing that animates these bodies. It's the real you. It is the part of you that you don't really think about, because you typically don't have to think about it, because it's just there. Your consciousness is how you communicate with God, is how you even can communicate with other people through your consciousness. Consciousness is what you allow to even come into this world. It's how you allow things to come into this world. It's through your consciousness. That's the real you. The real you lives inside of this body. This body is not you. That's the thing that is the most mind-bending when you start doing the work to really heal yourself. So Dr. Donvanti is, she has a degree in behavioral health. And when she's working with people, and I learned this skill from her, when she's working with people, her goal is to get the person to the healing. That is contrary, believe it or not, to the talk therapy model that most of us are familiar with. Let's talk about it. Let's explore. Let's go and let's get into these feelings. You do have to deal with the feelings, but not in that way. You have to deal with the feelings so that you can understand what the feelings actually represent to you. And basically you have to, the goal is to get you back to the place where you know your own well-being so well that you're able to heal that part of yourself. You're able to go back and heal the part of yourself, heal the little child in you who, when told no, you can't go with daddy this time, is not in panic mode. Like I said, you may not have even had language at that time. You may not have even understood that you could speak words. You've heard words, we're immersed in our cultures. So you've heard words, but you've yet to figure out how to make this mouth and these vocal cords and all of the muscles in your face and everything that has to happen in order for you to speak, the breathing, all of that, every single thing that has to happen. You might not know about that yet. So you may not even experience it with words if you are associated with the experience. Like if you're remembering it from the perspective of your 2-year-old self or your 1-year-old self, you may not even be able to associate it, right? Hey Majan, thank you very much for joining. But you remember the feeling. And that feeling is probably the same feeling that you've become accustomed to over the course of your life. And that feeling always, 100% of the time, every feeling that you feel produces a chemical reaction in your body. Your body responds to that chemical reaction. And your brain translates that chemical reaction into something that we call emotions. Emotions are energy in motion, because that's what the feeling is, right? The feeling is actually energetic. And that energetic feeling produces a chemical in your body called a hormone. The hormone produces a thought, it gives you that, a feeling. You get this thought, and the thought is associated with something internal or external to you, but the thought is associated with something. And then the next thing you know, you are having a reaction. And this happens lickety split. Like unless you actually do the study, unless you actually do the work, because there is actual work involved, and get into the place when you can begin to discern and understand and recognize that you first have this feeling, this energetic thing happens. And when that happens, it produces a particular chemical in your body. Let me tell you, do you know that love can actually be measured? Do you know that scientists could put instruments on your body, around your body, extract blood, monitor brain activity, monitor heart rate, all of that? They can do all of that and say that's love. They can do that. They say technology is Dr. Don says the thought comes first, then the visceral feeling. Okay. They can measure and see on a readout that's love. They can measure and see on a readout that's hate. That is all of these different things. They can measure how much of a certain hormone your body is producing in a particular moment that lets you know where a person is. Oxytocin is one of those feel-good chemicals. They call it the love chemical. They call it the love hormone. That's the thing that you feel when someone hugs you, right? Or if you are, Dr. Don says the chemical is produced in the brain, and the brain distributes the sensation or the command to the body. So the that's the thing that causes you to have that full heart experience, right? I feel like my heart is so full. When you look at your grandbabies, for instance, right? If you're me, when you look at your grandbabies, you just feel like crying, you just feel overwhelmed. You just, oh my God, these grandbabies, right? When you're in church and you reach a point of what a lot of people call ecstasy. Hey Judith, thank you for joining. When you're in church and you reach, you become ecstatic. And I don't mean ecstatic like you're screaming and hollering, but you feel like they call it in the church, they call it in the spirit. That's love. Love feels like in the spirit. Love feels like my well-being is assured. I know that I'm good. I know I'm safe. I know that I'm not alone. I know that I can do anything. I feel invincible. I can do anything. The problem is that we haven't quite figured out how to stay in that space, how to feel that. That's why you can do all of that. You can have a real experience, as people say, with God in church, and get in the car and start heading home and cuss out the driver that cut you off, smack your kids, holler at your husband. People, we don't know how to, no one has really taught us how to maintain that state. This is one of the reasons that I always recommend join the money school. We talk about these things in the money school. If you join one of the money attraction courses, then you're gonna get like real-time instruction on how to do exactly the thing that I'm telling you about, that I'm talking to you about. I'm just checking my notes to make sure that I have touched on everything that I want to touch on. There are a couple other things that I do want to talk about. I want to go back to what we talked about, what I started out talking about, which is, what are you willing to do? Who are you willing to be? What and who are you willing to release in order to have, be, or do? Who or what you want to have, be, or do? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to destroy your ego? Are you willing to break down every barrier in your life? Are you willing to undo the constructs in your mind that make you believe who you think you are? Are you willing to do that? If you're not willing to do that, then you're going to continue to get the results that you've been getting. You just are. Those are the rules. That's just how it is. Dr. Dawn says you do not read each and every comment that she writes out. Oh, why not? Why? I read everybody comments. What you talking about, lady? What is going on with you today? What happened? Anyway. Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to do that? It is not easy to deconstruct an ego. It's not. In fact, it is very cunning, and it will fight you at every turn. Every turn. You will. So let me ask you, and I'm gonna give y'all a chance to comment. I'm like literally gonna close my mouth until somebody answers this question. You're a parent. Let's say you're a parent. You have adult children. They have gone out into the world, and they have made sure that that they grown. And you get a call from one of them one day that says something like, hey, I made some decisions. Well, you might just know that they made some decisions that got them to a particular place. And they call you up and they say, this life thing out here is real hard. It's real hard. And I'm around here, I don't even know where I'm gonna sleep tonight. What would you do? What would you do? I need somebody to answer. And Dr. Dawn, you're welcome to answer. Hey, Shandal, thank you very much for joining. What would you do? Anybody, not all at once. I don't know how much of a delay is here, but anybody can answer whenever they want to answer. What would you do? What would you do? You have an adult child who has gone against your advice in many instances. They have made decisions. They've made sure they're grown. They've made decisions that have caused them to be in a particular predicament. And they call you up and they say, whoo, child, this life thing, boy, it's hard. It's hard being out here being grown. What would you do? What's your response? I don't even know where I'm asleep tonight. What's your response to that? What you gonna say? So ain't nobody got nothing to say? Because I know it ain't that much of a delay. I know it's plenty time to get an answer. So what would you do? What would you say to that child? your adult child, what would you say? You know, I'm not surprised. Dr. Dawn put a thumbs down. She say no, negatory, negatido, negative, go be grown. Onyx says it depends. Is this kid a habitual offender or are they really trying? You know, they've made decisions. They made sure you knew they were grown, and you know they've made decisions. You may have offered them all kinds of advice, and they just like, I'm grown. I don't need that. I'm grown. Remember that little boy? I'm grown. I'm grown. He about 2 feet tall. That shit was hilarious. But they made decisions. They've made decisions, and those decisions have gotten them to the point where basically they call you and saying, can I come home? Can I come home? Can I come home? Oh, plot twist. Y'all in 2 different cities. What do you do? Did that help at all? Did that clear it up a bit, Onyx? Did that clear it up a bit? Let me tell y'all what I did when I got a call like that from one of my youngins. It was almost impossible to keep my skin on. I thought she said the deuces because listen, Lena, be grown with your grown ass. It was almost impossible to keep my skin on. Do you understand me? When you and so I learned, I didn't know this about myself, but I learned that I'm a doting parent. And I never thought of myself as a doting parent. I thought that I was tough. I thought that I was, you know what I'm saying? I thought I was all that where my grown ass kids was concerned, even as they were growing up. But what I came to learn is that I spent a lot of time. I remember one of my ex-boyfriends said, you stay in their business. I'm like, they ain't got no business. Them is my children. They ain't got no business, right? I got a call like that. That's right. Don says it is not a punishment. All I'm saying is keep that same energy. So when I got a call like that, it was all I could do, like I said, to keep my skin on my body and not put pedal to the metal to go running to the rescue of my child. When I said this was a turning point for me. This was another one of those switches that flipped. I said, really? Wow. Well, what you gonna do? I heard myself say, what you gonna do? I didn't think about it because remember I said like my body is saying everything. My body is screaming at me. You have to help your child. What kind of mother are you? The thoughts that actually were going through my head. What kind of mother are you? How can you not help your own child? What if something terrible happens to your child? You're not going to be able to forgive yourself. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, the thoughts that went through my mind, the way that my body reacted to getting that phone call that time. I before that had no idea what to do. But in that moment, I was able to be aware enough of all of the sensations that were happening in my body, of all of the thoughts, the literal words. It sounded like people in my head screaming at me. I tell you no lie. That's a good question. I tell you no lie. It sounded like people in my head, like arguing with me, like literally screaming at me. And I was very calm in my presentation. I'm telling you what I felt, but in my presentation, I was actually very calm. We were on the phone. And my response was, well, what you gonna do? And my child replied, Shadell crazy. Shadell thinks I'm crazy. But I promise you, my child's response was, I'm gonna figure something out. And my response was, I have supreme confidence that you will. The next call I got came about maybe 30 minutes later. They had called somebody else and they, another family member, and the family was like, yeah, all right, no problem. And while I was waiting to hear back, the voices were still there. I was still having to be aware. And what I did not do is I wasn't fighting it. I just let myself feel it. I let myself hear it. I was able to distinguish different voices. All of them were not my voices. Some of them were my grandmother. Some of them were my aunt, some were my mom, some were people who I only knew like from work, what I imagined they might say. I mean, it was a lot. And I didn't relax. I mean, I didn't react. What I did do though was I reminded myself the voice that I could hear the most clearly was the quietest, and it was my real voice. And it was my voice saying, when you were that age, you did this, you did that. You were in this situation, you were in that situation. Remember that time when all of these different things. And the point was, all of those things you got through, you were safe the entire time. And because that voice, because I had learned how to hear my own real voice. And like Dr. Don pointed out, when Dr. Don asked the question, is the rescue for them or for you? I had a Messiah complex. I had one. A friend of mine basically had to say to me, you ain't Jesus. You can't, I was trying to, broker peace between cousins. And one of them snapped on me. You ain't Jesus. We don't need you to fix this. We'll figure this out. I was like, no, Ted. I started getting my ass out of other people's business, except for my children. Except for my children, because I felt like they were mine. I felt like they were mine. I got to a place where I had to understand that my role in their lives was to get them safely to earth and safely navigate it into adulthood and their own brand of decision making. And then I had to take my hands off. I have a friend, Jamila, who scolded me once a long time ago, who said, Jamila doesn't have any children. She has a lot of girlfriends who do. And she said, I watched you. And she named about 4 or 5 other women who she said, I watched you. I watched all of y'all raise y'all children. I saw y'all struggle raising y'all children. I saw y'all instill values in your children. I saw you do it. And then when the children want to go out and, test out this value system that you gave them, y'all interfere. You jump in, cut that shit out, back up, leave them alone. I still couldn't hear it. Because some of the voices that I heard, my well-being was assured. God does not have grandchildren, stepchildren, nieces, nephews, cousins, all God's children. Took care of me, God would take care of my children. And when swift flip. So yeah, Shandal thinks I'm crazy. Onyx is hard, but I've had to let them know being an adult is hard, especially when you willfully is wise counsel. The Bible teaches there is safety in the multitude of counsel. There is safety in the multitude of counsel. Came up with the acronym basic instructions before leaving earth. That was like the most appropriate thing. In fact, maybe we should go around and call it that. Instructions before leaving earth. There is wisdom in there, just wisdom. Dr. Don says, right, what kind of money do the rescue is to absolve you of whether it's warranted guilt or not, and altruism is fake. Let's talk about that. Hey, Malik, I think I spoke to you already, but just making sure. Onyx says, I've learned that when you give them the opportunity to go figure it out, they will. Every perceived need is not an emergency. It just feels like that sometimes when you're in the parent-child dynamic. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. I'm true. She said, I had to learn to trust what I had instilled in them. It was not an easy lesson. Dr. Dawson left home at 16. The woman that raised me asked me for help now because she watched me do this life thing in fabulous fashion, honey. It's the truth. It's true. We see these things play out. But we have this construction called an ego that we are not often willing to shift. It's activity like that. So I use this in my workshops often. When I'm in my credit workshops, I use this example very often. I got this from Dr. Cindy Trim. She has a book called The Rules of It. And in the beginning of the book, she's introducing this warfare prayer. And when I tell you that thing, whoa, you want to talk about getting in the spirit. When she was introducing it, one of the things that she said that has stuck with me for many, many, many years, this is many years ago since I was exposed to that. Dr. Trim says, when God was preparing David, he sent that nigga a real lion and a real bear. David wasn't playing war games. He could have died. Not only could he have died, but his family's fortune could have been lost to bears and lions. This nigga went and fought bears and lions, real ones, right? That's the whole, whether you believe the story is an allegory or not, the point is there was a real bear, real danger, a real lion, real danger. and he had to fight them off in order to keep his flock safe. And his flock can't be safe if he ain't. He was the gate between the bear and the lion and the sheep. When he learned how, that's why he had the courage, the strength, the willingness, the audacity to believe that he could whoop Goliath. So 9 times out of 10, that slingshot trick, he probably did that too on a bear and a lion, because clearly a person in a body is not going to be able to be equally matched to a goddamn bear. So you best to knock it out so you can go cut it off. A person is not going to be evenly matched to a lion. You better knock it out so you can go and cut its head off. So when it came time to kill a giant, he understood, I'm gonna plant this rock so deep in that nigga forehead, I'm gonna have plenty of time to do this surgery. I have plenty of time. Flop. David didn't kill Goliath with the slingshot. He knocked him out. He put him in position to have him to kill him. He put him in position. David put Goliath in position to have his head surgically removed from his body. And once he was able to do that, then the people said, I will follow this nigga anywhere. Because again, even the weapon that he chose was strategic. He had a strategy. He had a plan. That's another story. Y'all about to get me talk about David. How did that happen? Woo, I almost went down a rabbit hole. Thank y'all. I almost went down a rabbit hole. But there was a plan. David had a construct in his mind. He had a belief of himself in his mind that did not match what the people around him had already ascribed to him. They had their egos were trying to tell him what his ego should be. Their ego, remember his daddy would send him out. Go on now, go out there and watch the flock. David was the youngest in his tribe. Recall, David was the youngest in his tribe. His brothers, they didn't care much for him. He was cocky. They didn't like it. Hey, Toyin, hi, pretty girl. They didn't like it. He was the smallest, and he was the least liked. So while his brothers got to do things like they went out to hunt and, do all of these exciting and sexy things, and they had these reputations and whatnot, while they were out doing that, he had to be out watching the flock. So in his mind, killing a bear and a lion, that's just part of the job. This just what I got to do. This just what happens. This a boring ass job unless a bear and a lion come by and I can kill something. Otherwise, I'm sitting out here watching damn sheep. Sheep is stupid. They do whatever you tell them to do. Ain't no mystery to sheep, right? So imagine having that as your job while everybody else out there getting all the glory. They is getting glory. They out here getting it in. And this dude got to watch the flock. So when Saul came, excuse me, I apologize. That was not Saul. When Nathan came looking for the Messiah. Not the Messiah, the king. What am I tripping? Because I got distracted. Somebody sent me something. Yep. She said David had to go on a run and sleep in the clay. That was part of his king training. That lion and that bear, that was to get the crown. That was how he was getting the bag. He had to finally get to a place, right? So when the prophet came to the dad saying, listen, somebody in your house is gonna be king. God gonna show him to me. I need you to call your sons together. His daddy didn't even think, let me get my baby out the field, because nothing about David had said royalty or valor or all of the things that people had ascribed to the king, right? Because recall that the thing about Saul was a warrior. He was taller than every man. He was good looking. He was, he looked like a king. And the Bible says that wasn't the deal with David. The Bible says that was not the deal with him. He was sunburnt. The Bible calls him ruddy. He was sunburnt because he had to be out in the field. He was a redneck. He had to be out in the field tending sheep. He was looking leathery and he was small. he was so small that he couldn't fit the armor. Remember, he said this armor is, and then we saw it play out on the screen when old boy was King Leonidas and the 300 honey. Oh, he was like, oh, let me take this off. I was like, yes, take that off. Hey Lisa, how you doing? Thanks for joining, love. So yeah, so it is not an easy task to shed your ego. It's not an easy task to let go of who you think you are. That ego thing is a big deal. And the strongest, I feel like stronger even than Black woman American for me is mother. So when I had to practice allowing my adult children to be the adults that they are, to let go of the possession that mothers feel of their children, it felt like they mine. I mean, we shared all our meals at one point. We shared a body. How can they not be mine? Show them is my babies. I remember, I can see them. I see. So I'm gonna change this. I promised once before that I was gonna change, and I hadn't done it yet. So I'm gonna change this. But I promise you, the ID pictures that come up on the phone for my children are their baby pictures. Not necessarily as babies, but very young, 4, 5, very young. I'm gonna change that to their adult pictures. I promised my youngest son that I was gonna start referring to him as Booby. I haven't really done it. Say, I'm gonna call you by your whole name. I haven't done that. I told my daughter that I would stop calling her by her nickname. I haven't done that. I haven't. It's been difficult. That's the one. I think if I can get past mother, if I can do that, grandma probably gonna be harder than mother. But if I can get past mother, I can work some other stuff out. I can work the rest of that stuff out. But that mother construct is big for me. It's huge for me. And part of it is because I didn't have my mother in the way that I wanted to be, the way that I mothered my children. My mother didn't mother me in that way. My mother loved me, but she wasn't available for me. She was doing what she had to do for herself. She was getting her own emotional needs met. And she didn't know. No one had taught her. She was 17 years old when I was born. She had a mother who was like, you finna do what? You ain't taking that baby. She had a mother who was like, oh no, ma'am, you will not be an adult in this fucking house with that goddamn baby. That ain't happening. And of course, I'm over there all dimply and cute. My grandma wasn't letting go of that baby. And I was here for it. I was like, that's right, grandma. Sucking my thumb. That's right. I'm gonna be right here with you. And then she had the nerve to go and die. Like, seriously, lady, that's what you gonna do? You gonna get me all up in it and then you gonna go and die? Come on, Dad. Come on. I had her for some years. I was about, I think 11 when my grandma passed. Hey, Dr. Angie. So I know, Lisa, and that's what, I don't know if you were here when I was talking about how, if you read up in the comments, you'll see that when we get these grown children, I don't know if you have children or how old they are, but once they become adults, like, we really have to adjust that construct in our lives. And if we're willing, this is what I'm talking about here. What are you willing to do? Who are you willing to be? What and who are you willing to release in order to have, be, and do what you want to have, be, and do? Another big stronghold in my life is that of wife. That I have some real like solid ideas in my brain about what a wife is. And I have had to make some adjustments in that, especially as we don't have children in the house, because wife and mother were kind of hand in hand and neck and neck for me. My husband and I, it's just us. It's just us now. And we're at a place where we have to, if we want to leave the legacy that we want to leave for our children, there are some things that we have to let go of in this husband-wife dynamic in order to have what we say we want to have. Now, I am there. I'm like, whatever it takes, let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready to say anything because I recognize there is no loss. There is no loss. You can't lose. If some relationships are no longer serving, if you're in pursuit of your life goals, you simply cannot lose. There is no loss. There is no loss. When we leave this earth, we are going to leave a footprint on it. It's going to happen. If you want to control the footprint that you leave, if you want to be responsible for the footprint that you leave on this earth, if you want to leave a world that's better for the children that you brought into this world, for the grandchildren that they brought into the world, for their generations that came into the world, if you want to leave something better for them, you got to do something now. Your legacy is right now. It's not necessarily or only what you leave behind. Your legacy is right now. So the decisions that you make now have ripple effect and implications for literal generations. Don't believe me? I'll prove it to you. What did your great-grandparents do for a living? On both sides. What did they leave for you? What did your great-great-great-grandparents do for a living? On either side. What did they leave for you? Do you want someone to ask that question to your great-great-great-great-great-great-great, whatever great grandchildren, and hear the answer? Well, when my ancestor CelebrityMary was on this earth, CelebrityMary set us up. I don't even know what a job application is. What's that? That's the legacy I want to leave. And I don't mean like, fat, lazy, do nothing for the earth, do nothing for the community, don't advance us forward. I mean something like they can concentrate on being who they're supposed to be in this earth. They can concentrate on being better humans and bettering the earth, bettering the physical earth, bettering themselves, bettering the emotional capacity for the earth, bettering and not just the earth, but for our communities. Right. I agree, Lisa. It is, they can do their real work because they're not worried about money. They know their well-being so well because they've only been well. And you don't need money for your well-being. But if you live on earth, if you're going to do good work, you better have some money because good work costs money. It just does. You can't feed nobody love. You can't wrap them up in love and send them out into a snowstorm. You can't blanket them with, goodwill. You see what I'm saying? So you best to have some money. And if you want your generations to be the generations that make the earth a place that, that you want them to live in, if you want them to have the kind of lifestyle, the kind of environment, the kind of kindness, the kind of heart, the kind of morals and values, if you want them to be that person, if you want them to be those people, you got to do that now. That is social engineering. That's one of the things that Dr. Dawn and I have been talking about quite a lot lately, because they're in this world right this second who already know what kind of life their great-great-great-grandchildren are going to have because they're engineering it right now. They're marrying into particular families. They're crossing certain bloodlines up already. They're putting certain assets in place. Do you know that when you'll learn this in the money attraction course, that there is some money that you will acquire that should be put away that you have absolutely no intention of ever having access to because it's for your future generations? We often don't think about that in that way. We often don't do that. They haven't been taught that that's what we need to do. So we don't do it. But I'm here to tell you today, if you want the earth, if you want the society, the community, if you want it to be what you want it to be, you better start working on that today. Not now, but right now. Don't let no grass grow under your feet. You got to change your mind. And that's why I asked the question in the way that I did, because that's how it came to me. That's how I was able to get my breakthrough. If you lose certain relationships in pursuit of your life goals, have you really lost? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? Who are you willing to release? Whoever it is, whatever it is you got to do. I would rather spend 5 years with my head down, grinding it out and getting it done, so that when I look up in my golden years, and my children and my grandchildren are continuing to bring other children in my lines into this earth. When I look up, I can see the fruits of my labor. Jesus said you would know them by their fruit. What fruit are you bearing? Do you recall that Jesus actually cursed a tree because it wasn't bearing fruit? Cursed it. When he came back by it, it was withered and dead. Don't be withered and dead. Don't let Jesus curse you. Don't disappoint Jesus. Jesus is a G. And he don't deal with disappointment well, according to that particular instance. If that's how he handled disappointment, I don't want him disappointed in me. I'm just saying. So anyway, y'all, I'm excited. That's how I ended up going over on this pop-up live. This is a pop-up live. It ain't never supposed to go over an hour. I just wanted to have a conversation, and I still got more in my notes, but I'm gonna save it. I think this may end up being part of my Manifest Destiny show on Sunday, because there's still so much more to go over. And even though this, I wasn't planning to have any Bible conversation, it just comes up naturally. That's just how it goes. So if all hearts and minds are clear, I'm gonna go ahead and press this button and get on out of here. Y'all ain't got no questions. Y'all ain't got no comments. I do appreciate each and every one of you for joining me. I love you much for staying. Excuse me. I'm always happy to come out and have these conversations. Listen, I want to announce something. Hold on. I have an announcement to make. This is another part of a conversation that Dr. Dawn and I had. One of the things that we do is we push people. We push in the money school, in our other endeavors together. We push people not to incite or cause issue, but to get you into your destiny, to help you get there. Because if we pushing you, you standing here in front of us, you must be in my way. So if I got to push you into your destiny so I can go ahead and get to mine, I'll do it. I will certainly do it. So I want to announce that I am doing a public speaking workshop for entrepreneurs and executives. I am aware that people would rather be a lot of people, and there is scientific evidence to support. Love you back, love. Love you back. And thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Hey, Carlton. So there's scientific evidence that says that more people would rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy. Me, myself, I personally ain't got that problem. And I consider myself a pretty tight extemporaneous speaker. Okay. I do well with written speeches. I do with prepared speeches, rather. I do well with off the cuff. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty cool under pressure. So I would like to be able to offer some of those skills to other executives and entrepreneurs who are having trouble with speaking in public, and who don't have time to go to meetings on a regular basis in order to develop their speaking skills. So I'm doing these public speaking workshops. It's going to be for entrepreneurs and executives. If you are interested in more information, more details, you want to sign up, then please, by all means, inbox a sister. Go ahead and hit me up, inbox me. I will get you the information as to when and where and how we're going to do it. Some will be online, some will be in person, because I know everybody isn't in the same city. So I'm excited about that. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Okay, love. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love that vote of confidence. I appreciate that. So yeah, so I'm going to, they're going to start soon. So go ahead and inbox me if you're interested in getting yourself signed up, and we will go from there. All right. Anyway, y'all, I love each and every one of you, and there is absolutely nothing that any of you can do about it. Peace out.